Everyone is talking about which limited character will get a resurgence thanks to the upgrades they're going to get. However, I'm going to focus this video more on the unlimited 5 stars and the 4 stars. Let's go in order of appearance in the story. Kafka and Silverwolf are going to get an upgrade, so I'm going to skip them. First up, Physical Trailblazer. This one is too basic, let's say. So for the changes, I'm going to make his defense traces physical damage traces. In addition to this, the regeneration of his Ascension 2 trace is now going to be his talent, with the talent becoming his Ascension 2 trace. And additionally, his Eidolon that increases the defense based on the enhancement in attack is now going to enhance the damage dealt. Now here's a big change. Unlike the other Trailblazer forms, this one doesn't have any connection to the path in the simulated universe, so I decided to correct that. As such, now when using the ultimate, he will consume 50% of his current HP and increase his attack by a percentage equal to his missing max HP for one turn. That way you can hit with the ultimate, which by the way does ultimate damage, not basic attack or skill damage, and then you can use basic attack or skill to deal another chunk of damage. Next up, Preservation March 7th. This one's actually balanced in a better way than Destruction Trailblazer. However, it still needs some tweaks. As such, I decided to change its damage source from attack to defense. Let's face it, that's the problem all sustain units on 1.0 have in common. They deal damage with attack instead of with the source that they heal or put shields with. As such, I'm going to make that change on every single unit. Now, considering March 7th's damage is mostly going to be from its follow-up, I'm going to make it so that it doesn't have a count limit. It can target a random enemy when the original target is defeated, something that all follow-ups and counters should have from now on. And additionally, March E4 will increase the damage of the follow-up. Now Dang Hang. I'm going to make some small changes to him despite people saying that he needs a complete rework. For starters, I'm going to make his talent now give him a passive wind rest pen increase instead of needing a harmony, abundance, or preservation character to target him. Now I'm going to give him an enhanced state after using his skill just like Yang Qing. However, this one is activated if he doesn't crit using his skill. Now, in the next attack, he will get a guaranteed crit. That way people can focus on crit damage instead of wasting resources on crit rate. And to finish with Dan Hang's rework, I'm going to make his defense traces into crit damage traces and his first Eidolon into increasing crit damage. Next up, Orlan. Some people say that he is the worst destruction unit, but I feel like some changes will help him improve his position. First up, I'm going to change his attack traces into lightning damage traces. Why? Because I'm also changing his damage source from attack to max HP, like every other character who consumes HP to deal damage. Among other changes, I'm going to make his technique consume HP, I'm going to make his skill be a blast damage skill, I'll make his talent additionally deal damage based on his missing HP, his Ascension 4 trace will reset at the start of every turn as long as he is 25% HP or less, and his fourth Eidolon, the Self Revive, will not dispel after a certain number of turns. Next up is Asta, and considering the way she is a support is more unique compared to everyone else, I decided to go with the following. First up, her talent now increases damage instead of attack. Secondly, I changed her Ascension 2 trace from burning the opponent to dealing additional damage based on her attack and the stacks of charging. Thirdly, her Ascension 6 trace will make it so that after using the ultimate, allies deal additional damage based on their speed. Not to mention that now I'll change her defense traces into attack. And I'm making a lot of changes, leaving a lot of people vulnerable, but my idea is that sustains are there for a reason. Let's use them. Next up are Himiko and Walt Yang. However, these two are pretty well established with their kits, with Himiko getting an upgrade every few patches, be it with follow up or super break, and Walt Yang not being, well, meta. The best I had for them was for Himiko's burn upgrades to instead increase her follow up and ultimate damage, and for Walt's effect rest traces to change into effect hit rate. Other than that, I have nothing. And Sampokoski and Herda's Puppet are in a similar situation. The only changes I could make for them were for Sampo to increase his DOT damage and change effect rest into effect hit rate. And with Herda, I changed her defense traces into attack traces. Other than that, I have nothing. Next up, Gepard Landu, and this one actually needs some changes. First of all, I'm going to change his damage source from attack to defense, like I established with March. Next up, I don't understand why he has a self-revive or he freezes the opponent. But his kit is more focused on using the ultimate and getting attacked. As such, I'm going to change freeze into aggro and the self-revive for energy regeneration rate. That way he can spam his ultimate easier and get attacked more easily. However, since Gepard is going to be attacked more easily, I'm going to make it so that his A6 trace reduces the damage he receives. Additionally, I'm going to make it so that his skill deals blast damage. The next one on the list would be Serval, and to put it simply, I'm going to increase her energy regen and make her deal additional damage to lightning weak enemies instead of enemies shocked. I feel like that helps her kit more than originally. Additionally, I'm going to change her effect rest traces into lightning damage traces, and her E1, the one that makes her basic attack do one more hit to an adjacent enemy, to hit a random enemy. That way it can hit the same enemy twice instead of, not doing anything if there's only one enemy left. Next two are Bronya and Pela, and in all honesty are pretty well established. I'd say that the most I could change for Bronya would be to make her Ascension Fortress last throughout all the battle until she is defeated. Next up would be in the underground, Natasha, and in all honesty, I only changed her damage, making her deal damage based on max HP instead of attack, and her idle on 6 instead of increasing her damage based on her max HP, it increases it based on her outgoing healing. That way, the damage she deals is also related to her healing. Next up, Little Hook, leader of the moles. This one I decided to give a lot of changes. First of all, she doesn't deal damage on burning enemies, instead on fire weak enemies. And now her ultimate can apply fire weakness. Additionally, I'm going to make her skill and ultimate deal blast damage. I'm going to make some of her kit increase her energy regen, and I'm going to change her HP traces into fire damage traces. The next four, Scylla, Clara, Lynx, and Luca, are pretty well established. In fact, the best I could think for Scylla would be for her extra turn to trigger once she weakness breaks an enemy, and for Luca to have additional DOT. However, his DOT is based on the enemy's max HP, capping on his attack, so I don't know how to help you with that. To finish up with the Bellbug, I'm going to make alterations to Preservation Trailblazer. First up, he deals damage with defense, not attack. Secondly, he now can stack his shields. And thirdly, I'm going to double his shield percentage. I think that would be enough. Now from Bellbug we move to Xianqiu, where I'm going to talk first about Yukong and Bailu, because I feel like everyone else before them is pretty well established. Now Yukong is going to have some simple changes. Her HP traces are going to become crit damage traces, and her roaring bowstrings is not going to be depleted unless an ally uses an attack. With Violet the changes are going to be much simpler. I'm going to make it so her attention to trace allows her skill and ultimate to dispel debuffs, and I'm going to change her damage from attack to max HP. Not to mention I'm going to change her defense traces into effect rest traces. Next up is Sushan, who I feel would be the first character who wants break effect. As such, I'm going to change her HP traces into break effect traces and her defense traces into physical damage traces. Additionally, I'm going to make her ultimate apply physical weakness. Next up is Luoxia, who is a limited character, and in all honesty, I could barely think of a way to enhance him. So next up, I'm going with Jingxue. With her, I'm going to change her defense traces into crit damage traces, and I'm going to make her Ascension to Trace, the one that makes her restore a skill point after using her skill, apply every turn, but only the first time every turn. Next up is Yang King, and I'm going to make a few changes to his talent. First up, now it lasts for one more turn. Secondly, it's not dispelled when he takes damage. Thirdly, when he is attacked, he does not take damage, instead applying a, let's say, dodge. And then he throws his follow-up as if it was a counter. However, this depletes the turn count by 1. If this sounds too weirdly established, don't worry, it's kind of inspired into Jingliu's original equipment. Now, Yang Qing can additionally gain a turn for Soul Steel Sync after using his ultimate while in the enhanced state. Next up is Gneifen, who will get some slight changes. First up, her talent will make her regenerate energy when Fire Kiss is applied, or triggered. Secondly, I'm going to increase the percentage for Fire Kiss. Thirdly, I'm going to change her break effect into attack traces. Next up is Hania, who I'm going to give the next changes. First, she deals damage with speed instead of attack, considering her ultimate wants more speed instead of more attack. Secondly, her Ascension to Trace is going to increase the damage dealt by allies instead of their attack. And thirdly, I'm going to make her attack traces turn into physical damage traces. And from here on out, every other character is pretty well established with their kit, so the best changes I can make would be to change some traces. The only exception to this would be Misha, whom I'm going to additionally increase the freeze chance.